How do you measure the results of these conclaves? Is it possible to do?
I think so. I think if you're looking at the idea of the starfish, I think those who participate in conferences like this come back changed persons. I think we can't help but be more changed, more invigorated by what David White refers to as courageous conversations with each other. We must be about courageous conversations. What does it mean to ask significant questions of ourselves and of others? I think such conferences will bring together different walks of work. The very fact that you'd be working with nonprofit and business and education all together would be exciting. That would make a difference.
What do you think are some of the biggest questions that need to be asked?
Well, we've been asking those questions, I think, at Kennesaw. We had several years ago, we put a rock on our campus that was inspired by Carl Sandburg's book, The Remembrance Rock. And we put the rock there to have students who graduate from Kennesaw to ask 3 questions when they graduate. And Carl Sandburg used to say in this book, you go to a rock every year and you ask 3 questions. And it intrigued me about how we must ask questions in courageous conversations. So the 3 questions that Carl Sandburg referred to is, who am I? Where do I come from? Where am I going? Those are good questions. Can you imagine sitting all day on a rock and asking the answers to those questions? Well, my minister at Big Canoe, when he heard about this, Jimmy Allen, he said, you should ask the 4th question, what is the meaning? Good. Well, I talked to Frances Hesselbein, the great leader that she is. She said, oh, you should ask the question, what is my legacy? Good. And then she said, how do I matter? Oh, these are getting, increasingly good. And then I was giving a talk at the Atlanta Rotary Prayer Breakfast, and I was struggling about what to add in my speech, and I just picked up a book by Covey, First Words. He said, you should ask the question, whose am I? And I thought, gosh, that's good. To whom do I belong, And then I was reading the other day, and I just added another one. Ernest Boyer was a great educator, and he used the term, to what do I testify? So now the list is getting longer and longer, but aren't those good questions? Wouldn't they be wonderful questions for us to ask of ourselves, to ask of our students, to ask of our leaders? The list, I think, is only as long as we want to make it.
You're asking these questions in all these different environments. You've been to Northern Ireland.
Yes.
You've been to South Africa. You've been to the United Kingdom. Do you see people responding to these questions in different ways?
No, I see them responding in the same way. We just did a program for retired presidents, and it was called Wintering into Wisdom, and it comes from Beowulf. And the quote that we liked from Beowulf is, be true to your values. This I tell you from one who has wintered into wisdom. Good title, isn't it? Wintering into Wisdom. So we're developing a whole series of workshops on wintering into wisdom. And I think it's across all ages. I think it's across all countries. When you get people together and you talk about what are the meanings of what we do. I mean, these are courageous conversations.
We have just completed a report on the Louvre Atlanta project that's brought the Musée du Louvre and our High Museum of Art together. And Michael Shapiro, the director of the...
I admire him so.
And Henry Loiret, the president and director of the Louvre, said that they were able to accomplish that because of their mutual trust in working together. Do you see that as a foundation in many successful projects?
I do. Working together, I'm not going to hurt you. We are alike. What are the commonalities that bring us together? What are the things that make us human? To what do we testify in our humanity? And when are we fully cognizant of what's important to all of us? Love of family, love of place, love of significant work, meaning to life. My last question that I'm asking is, what if? What if we were to put all these together? What if we were to have these kind of dialogues all over the world? I think it'd be a very interesting thing to see that dialogue is critical. When I was with Stephen Covey, he handed me his talking stick. You've probably seen him do that, and he gave it to me. And you know, I talk, and then when you feel that you can understand, you get this talking stick, and then we pass it back and forth. I think what we were about in all of these opportunities, we're passing the talking stick to each other. And from Saboka, we'll grow a larger Saboka.
In terms of your talking stick, do you think that technology can become a kind of talking stick?
I think it can, and yet I am reminded by a conversation that I was privileged to have with Tom Friedman when he was here a year ago. He was talking to a group at Georgia Tech, and I loved his statement. He said that the easiest thing in the world to outsource is left brain thinking. The hardest thing to outsource is right brain thinking. And then he added, left brain thinking is technology in a lot of ways, the analytical. But right brain thinking is imagination. And I love that, don't you? That technology, of course, is a fabulous tool. One of the best commencement addresses I ever heard was done at our university by John Clendenin, a man I really hold in high regard for his integrity. And the title of his speech was What Technology Cannot Do for You. And it's the only speech that I had Xerox and sent out to every student. I want them to have a copy, not just on the email. And in it, it's his talk, What Technology Cannot Do for You. Here's a man who's a champion of technology, but that wonderful wisdom, what it can do.
How do you develop the right brain thinking and sense of right brain community?
Well, we have right and left brains, of course. I started off in developmental psychology. And to me, right brain thinking comes from empathy. You know, it's a feeling of oneness with another, seeking to find ways to go beyond what is the empirical and what can be intuitive, empathic. And so to me, we have both sides of the brain, but we can be taught empathy. If I had anything in the world that I'd like for people to do, I'd like for us to work on empathy with young people very early. And if I had any book that I would expose young, high schoolers to, would be To Kill a Mockingbird. Remember that book? Remember the movie?
Sure.
What was it about it that we remember most? The integrity of the father. The integrity. And so I think it was Warren Buffett who said that leaders have to have integrity, intelligence, and energy. And they must have people who work with them of intelligence, integrity, and energy. But if they don't have integrity, you better hope that they're dumb and lazy. Because they'll get you every time. So integrity, inner grit, the right brain imagination, ethics, they seem to fit.